Hello everyone and welcome to something quite new and unique, I suppose. I'm making Glinda's bubble from Wicked. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've decided to make a version of Wicked that is animated and queer. It's based on a gift set I did on my Wicked blog 2 years ago. And then I realized that I could actually somewhat make this alive by animating it in the style of like the same animatics I did for the double name witches, Mary-Kate Morrissey and Gina Claire Mason. So what I'm doing now, as you can see, is I'm creating the little twirls inside the bubble. This took actually quite a while to make, quite a while to get right, so you'll see me struggle with this for a bit. The app I'm using is Motion, which is kind of like sort of After Effects / Photoshop, but specifically for Apple. And the reason I bought it instead of that is because this was a one-time purchase, same as Final Cut Pro, and that's a lot more feasible for me than the Adobe monthly subscription, because that's quite expensive. Everything that I learned is actually from YouTube videos, and specifically this one guy, Simon Upsdell. I will link his channel down below in the description because he is like a wizard with these things. It's absolutely incredible. I was so lost in the beginning what to do with this program. I had no idea. And now I'm like 2-3 years in with this program. I'm mostly doing none of the things that he's doing, but I sometimes follow his tutorials because they make you realize what everything can be done within this program. So yeah, what I'm doing now was lining up all the twirls so it looked right. And now I'm going to do the side bubbles, kind of. Not the ones inside. We're going to do that in a bit. If you're interested in working on this project, because I'm needing voices for the characters, I'll leave a link to the post that I made in the comment section. Just know that the deadline for send-ins is on 15 November, so you have about 2 to 3 more weeks to send in your audio clip. So this is also a neat little trick. What you can see, I masked. I had like this square and I masked a circle within it, and I used did like an invert of that, so now you have that same effect as it has within the bubble, by just using shapes. All of this is like just using a lot of shapes. I also had this like red square that I used to measure, and here it was that I realized that it did not work at all, and maybe my circle wasn't as like symmetrical as I thought it was, because the square in it wasn't lining up. But that's all right. I'm not mathematical, even though that's kind of sometimes required. Like, I'm mathematical enough to edit, but I'm also kind of just going with it for most of the time. Yeah, now I am doing the little circles within like the outer circle. It's a neat little trick that you have in Motion, and it's the replica tool. And so you can, and then you have the geometry tool. So I linked the little bubbles to the outer circle, and then I just had to make sure that it's all suits well enough, and then make sure that it actually looks like they are all linked up. And that's actually a really easy trick to do this otherwise very time-consuming thing. That was actually not that bad. And I don't know what I'm doing here. Just okay. Well, now what's cool now, I'm going to do the pendulum. I kind of called it that because what's so cool about like the stage version of Wicked is that the bubble, while it's supposed to be like, it represents a bubble, her bubble, Glinda's bubble. But at the same time, because this is stage direction and you can't just have like something floating like you could in a movie, it has to actually function. And so what they did is like have this huge kind of swing, sort of, that makes the bubble also aesthetically like a pendulum. And what's even more awesome is that the bubble only comes out when the decor of the clock is also there. So it's actually like a pendulum. I don't know, someone who made like the stage, the props and all that stuff, really thought about these kinds of things. And it shows. It's absolutely amazing, actually, when you think about it. And that's one of the things why I'm kind of skeptical of the movie. Well, I'm usually actually really pro adaptations. I'm kind of skeptical of the Wicked movie, if it ever comes out. That's the question. But mostly because the writers are the exact same as for the musical. And what I think is so strong about not only the musical Wicked, but also the book by Gregory Maguire, is that it is all adaptations are nothing like the previous source materials, like The Wizard of Oz, the movie, and the movie is also nothing like the original book by L. Frank Baum. So that's kind of the legacy of Wicked, and I'm not really thrilled that they're going to do a movie adaptation based on the musical. So what you can see on the reference picture is that some of the iron bars are behind and the others are in front. So the behind ones I made a little darker, so it creates more of a depth perspective. Right now what I'm doing is like trying to do these details. I'm doing something like this, a little clock, and I can tell you now I threw it away because it looked like garbage. So yeah, it was a bit of a trial and error, and I decided against it. I think one of the reasons, like the director, and that has been announced for like 5 years already. The director for the film will be the one that also directed Billy Elliot, and I recently rewatched Billy Elliot, and it actually is a really good movie. Like the cinematography and everything like that is really good and really fits the period that it tries to portray. But then again, one movie doesn't exactly like raise my hopes up. And what I said, I think one of the strong suits of Wicked and The Wizard of Oz as a legacy is that every movie every adaptation is trying something different. And having the creators of the musical work on the movie as well doesn't exactly raise my hope up. And I'm afraid that they're going to do like too much of the musical and not reinvent the story like every other adaptation has done so far. But that is to say that there will come a movie after all, and I don't think that will be for a very long time, because if it bombs, it might affect the musical, and the musical is still selling out every day pretty much. So it seems like I'm almost done. What I'm doing now is I have this filter that's called indent, and it makes it all kind of look more mechanical and metallic, which is kind of what you want for the bubble, especially because the background is already flat. And so to have this slightly more 3D just makes it a bit nicer. Though I have to say, like, after I stopped recording, I reset the values a bit lower than what you're seeing right now, but you will see in the final. And let's now go to the end result.